Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Great to see some great lively and sort of commotion in the lobby. Welcome today's session, Kickstart scheme. Essentially, the next steps, where we are, and how things are moving forward. I'll pass it over to my colleague Michelle Hogg, who many of you may know. You've had email communication, probably telephone calls as well, and she'll be here to give you an update of exactly where we are and what the next steps entail. Michelle, are you with us?
I'm sure. Just want to quickly say, Martin, for anybody who's been ringing me Thursday, Friday, and Monday this week, I have actually been on annual leave and forgot to put my out of office on. So I do think I might have a few calls to get back to people on, obviously after today. So please, sorry about that, and I will get back in touch with you all.
Michelle, I'm sure if you told them the reason why you had some annual leave, I'm sure they'll understand.
Yeah, it was my birthday. I'm going to leave the age out. But yeah, birthday celebrations.
Fantastic. Okay, we'll jump straight into it then, Michelle. I'll do the slides for you. Here you go.
Okay. Yes. Afternoon, all. We have got a selection of employers in today. So we have kind of got some new employers that are probably new to the Kickstart. We have got obviously a lot of you that have already put your planned vacancies through, applied, and obviously we're waiting for approval. So I'm just going to go through a very quick recap on what Kickstart is for those that are obviously new to the initiative. So it is a £2 billion scheme, part of the Plan for Jobs announced by the Chancellor back in July. It is targeting employers of all sizes, big and small. They are encouraging you to create work experience placements for 16 to 24-year-olds who are in receipt of universal credit. They are looking for new jobs, so they cannot be any previous planned vacancies that you've already advertised, and it cannot make anybody unemployed that you've already got with you or reduce their hours. Okay, wages are covered, so 6 months at 25 hours per week of national minimum wage will be paid in arrears monthly, and there is a £1,500 setup fund available to cover recruitment selection, any setup costs, and the wraparound support and employability training. There is no limit on number of placements. However, there is in one application. So it's a maximum of up to 30 in one application. But obviously, as soon as that's been approved, you could then go on to apply for more placements. Okay. You register on the scheme by going via our website at pathwaygroup.co.uk/Kickstart to register your details if you haven't already. Okay, so that is kind of just a very quick recap on what Kickstart is. We have, for those who haven't done any previous webinars, we have got presentations available for you. Okay, do you want to move on, Mark, to the next one? Okay, so a bit of an update on where we're at the moment. We are obviously conducting internal due diligence checks on any submitted applications we've had to date, and we're basing that on the Kickstart Approval Board's criteria. Okay, so those that we have already had without any queries have been processed and submitted to the Kickstart Approval Board. Some of those are obviously any day now we should be hearing, some obviously maybe further down the line. We've had a small number of applications with outstanding queries where we haven't got enough level of detail that we need for the application. So therefore we're either emailing or trying to call you to get the rest of those details so we can submit the application. We are obviously also rejecting placements if they do not meet our due diligence checks. So that may be that they are already advertised out there for jobs. I think we'll go on a little bit further down in the presentation about what it is, what the criteria is that the Kickstart Approval Board are using. Another quick update, hot off the press, Kickstart scheme terms and conditions are now available. So we have put them on our website. I can't quite see the link because my face is in front of that link there, Martin.
Yeah,
however,
it's pathwaygroup.co.uk/Kickstart-terms.
Okay, so the terms and conditions have now been published for employers and for the gateway providers. So please all do take a look. Let me move on. Okay. As part of that terms and conditions, there is a slight update on the payments. So subject to the grant recipient's compliance with the terms of this grant agreement, the DWP will make grant payments in accordance with the following payment schedule for each participant employed by the grant recipient as part of the Kickstart scheme. So the first instalment obviously is the £1,500 per vacancy or per participant for setup and support costs. So what they are saying, they will pay that when the DWP are satisfied that that person has started with employment with you. So again, get them straight onto the PAYE system, and that will generate that, obviously contracts of employment, etc. The second instalment will obviously be for the wages. So the 25 hours per week at national minimum wage, plus any pension contribution, plus NI contribution. So paid in arrears on confirmation that the participant paid through the pay-as-you-earn, the PAYE tax for the first month. This payment is expected to be in on or around the 6th week of the placement. So that's following on for your first £1,500. And they're saying 6 weeks later, you should get the first set of wage subsidies. And then 3rd to the 7th instalments, obviously, is your monthly paid in arrears wages for the 25 hours per week. As I said, anything above the 25 hours, obviously, you will not get back. You must pay for that yourself. But that is the new payment schedule that you will see in the new terms and conditions. Move on. Okay. I do keep getting lots and lots of emails and messages and calls saying, can we start advertising placements? We've got people ready. But I really cannot get this point across enough. Until any placements are approved, employers cannot advertise placements, cannot interview potential applicants, do not start employment or commence the placements. And we cannot backdate any placement or applications. The reason I'm saying this is a must and we cannot do any of the above is we still can't guarantee at this stage that they will accept or reject any vacancies. So I know people are very keen and very eager to get this going, but unfortunately we have to wait for that approval to come through. Okay, so that's just going over. I think we've said this quite a few times, and I do get people are very keen. Rejected applications. We have had a number of employers contact us. So we have been contacted recently by businesses that have applied directly themselves. However, their application has been unsuccessful. When they are notifying you of an unsuccessful application, they have now stated the criteria that they are using to assess all the applications. And these are: job placements are additional and not replace existing or previously planned vacancies. They must provide suitable employability support. They must have accurate information on the business itself. Sufficient track record of fiscal competence is of a sufficient size and structure in order to support these businesses. I think we're just having somebody with issues, Martin, not being able to see anything. Can everybody just give us a kind of indication? Is everything okay? Can everybody see the screen and hear?
It is coming through on the separate feed. I mean, we will make sure that the recording is available for everyone, and we will also send the slides around as well to the attendees. Brilliant.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks for letting us know that bit. Brilliant. Okay. So yeah, so those are the reasons, and they won't state what the actual reason is. They will just say it is one of the criteria above. Fabulous. Thanks everybody for letting me know that. We'll press on, and then for anybody who hasn't, we will send out the recording afterwards. Martin, you are a bit quiet is what people are saying. He's a quiet person.
That's what I'm not saying too much, but yeah.
That's a bit better. That's better. Okay.
I'll have to start shouting.
So yeah, so those are the rejected reasons basically if anybody is getting rejected. However, those businesses that have been rejected are coming back through to us now, and Pathway Group are supporting them to reapply, obviously filling in any gaps, checking on their application process fully as to see why we would think that has been rejected and what we can do to fix. Can I move on, Martin? Okay, so the next steps of the process. For those, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, who haven't already registered their details, your next step would be to go on to pathwaygroup.co.uk/kickstart and register your vacancy details to get the ball rolling. Okay. The Kickstart placement. So there are 2 focus areas to consider to fulfill your placement funding, basically: recruitment and selection, and the employability training wraparound support. So obviously supporting young people to become more employable. So for the recruitment and selection part of the process, obviously job descriptions will have to be sent to DWP. They will work with all the work coaches at the Job Centre Plus. Will use those job specs to match suitable candidates for the placements. You will then obviously arrange interviews for the candidates matched to the job placements and select the candidate best suited, and obviously any DBS checks or anything after that. Employability training and wraparound support. What is meant by this exactly is, what support will you be offering for that young person? When will the support be provided? How many hours will it take throughout the 6 months? Who will provide the support? How they will monitor this support? How the young person can provide feedback during their placement and afterwards, and how this will be acted on. So progression opportunities for that young person afterwards. So those are things to consider for those 2 options, as in recruitment and selection and employability training and wraparound support. If we can move on to the next slide, Martin. Okay, Pathway Group have created some support packages, basically. So for those that have submitted Kickstart applications to us already, we are now at the stage where we need to understand the level of support you will require from Pathway Group. Okay, Pathway Group have developed Kickstart services support packages for businesses to choose from, and these include recruitment and employability training. So our offer, if you were to take us up on the recruitment option of our support packages, we would obviously incorporate, where applicable, reviewing and amending any job specifications or job descriptions. We would be searching for the right candidates amongst a number of avenues. We would advertise job placements across a variety of platforms. We would be screening and shortlisting candidates, arranging interviews, conducting any DBS checks, and preparing any contracts of employment, as they will all need one. They will all be classed as employed for that 6-month period. If we can move on to the next one, Martin. For the employability skills training element, we would create individual action plans. We would offer mentoring and support throughout the 6 months and afterwards. We would be conducting progress reviews regularly throughout the placements. It would include CV writing, job searching skills, job application skills, goal setting and career planning, conducting interview techniques, working with the team, safeguarding, equality and diversity, health and safety, all those the norms that you would expect, and accredited sector-specific training courses and placement progressions, what would happen after the progression. So again, being a training provider, we would then also have options of apprenticeship placements, advanced learner loans, sector-specific courses funded depending on areas, etc. So multiple things we could do after they have completed their 6-month program. Okay. Again, we've just popped back into this presentation some of the accredited sector-specific training courses we were talking about in just a second ago. So again, These are just a few examples. There is many, many more that we will try and suit to your industry, to that young person and their career goals and career setting about where they want to be. I think we've got another list following on from this one. Yeah, so again, you'll see fire safety, first aid, food hygiene, safeguarding, mental health first aid, warehousing and storage. There is a good selection of courses there, so I'm sure we will find something for everybody. So as an example training package then, so alongside all the CV writing, the mentoring support, the interview techniques, when we look at the actual specific accredited training, if, say, for instance, it was a hospitality assistant, then obviously the courses that we would look that were quite relevant would be a basic food hygiene certificate, customer service for hospitality industry, a first aid certificate, and fire safety. Again, on the office assistant, we would have some customer service course, business administration skills courses, digital skills in business settings, manual handling, first aid. There is multiple packages we could put together to suit. All of these courses are delivered online, allowing users to learn safely at their workplace or obviously at the comfort of their home if they are working from home. Okay, so I think, again, we have put this in previous webinars also. This is your 4 options basically, and we've kind of messed around so it looks, so it's tidied it up for the table point. So you've got option 1, you could choose Pathway Group to do both. So for your £1,500, your setup costs, obviously Pathway Group would keep the £1,500, £1,000 for the recruitment and selection, and a £500 for the employability training. Option 4 would be, obviously, we would just be the gateway provider, obviously creating the initial application, and then you would then take over the recruitment and selection element of it, keeping the £1,000 and also the employability training, based upon the slides we've just shown you about what you've got to consider for both of those options. Okay, so option 2 and option 3 is where we can negotiate. You may want to do one side of it, but not the other. And this is kind of where we will need to complete today. The choice is yours. As I said, you are the employers, you are in the driving seat. If you wish to take a lead on recruitment, then that is fab. We are encouraging you to do that. Again, our advice is don't try and do everything yourself, especially if you are having multiple vacancies. Consider Pathway Group or other providers for the pastoral care, for the mentoring support and employability, purely because that's where our level of expertise lie. This is what we're doing on a day-to-day basis and have done for years. So yeah, please do consider us, especially for the employability option. This is an opportunity for you to make a positive impact on that young person's life by setting them up for future successes. The whole scheme is about giving those individuals that opportunity to gain skills and work experience to add to their CV, even if there is no job for them at the end of that 6-month program with you. Okay. Okay, so the next steps again, in readiness of approval, we will need you to complete a Kickstart scheme gateway services form. So it will have those 4 options we have just discussed. And what we want you to do is to complete which one you would want to go for. So Martin has put the link at the bottom of the presentation now, so everybody could just click onto the gateway services form. You should see in the middle at the bottom, or the link for that is also bit.ly/pathway gateway services. Martin, if we could just put that into the chat also for those who haven't written that down, so you can go back into the chat and see the link. And for those that select Pathway Group support services for recruitment and selection, once we have gathered the information from today's options, we will obviously then contact you directly to discuss the job specifications, so we can gather them in now, ready for when these approvals are coming through, so we can start liaising with the job centres. Thank you, Martin. So that link for that form is in the chat, everybody, as well as obviously you can just click on that as we're going through. Do you want to move on to the next slide? That's it. Okay, and just one last thing to note on this presentation, obviously with the big announcement we had from Saturday, just to reiterate to everybody, we have had no further guidance regarding any Kickstart placements throughout lockdown. However, as soon as any guidance becomes available, we will be straight on to update you all. Pathway Group, I can assure you, we will still continue to operate during lockdown, supporting learners, employers, and any partnerships. So we are still here, everybody. Yeah, nothing will change for Pathway Group. We will continue. Okay, so we have got a question and answer session now for those. I think we have had a few come up in the chat, Martin. I've tried not to look so I can concentrate on what I needed to speak about. So if you could come back to any.
Yeah, let me just have a quick scroll to the top of the list. I think the last question that we did have was latest sale. Is this criteria different for gateway employers? So I think that's in regards to the terms and conditions that, the criteria that the DWP will check placements against, I believe.
Right, okay. So no, that all the information that is in the presentation has come directly from the government website, from DWP. The criteria that they will look about rejecting any placements is taken exactly from there. So yeah. So Martin, I don't think people can hear you still. Yeah, I can. It's very strange. I can hear you.
Very odd.
So
if it's because of the presentation coming across, but next one would obviously be from Katie Moss.
Katie Moss, yeah, if I've registered 3 placements but only need 2, is that okay? That's absolutely fine, Katie. Again, all we have done at this stage, if we have submitted your vacancies, the vacancies will go off for approval, but you haven't actually signed any grant agreements at this stage, so there's nothing saying you have to offer the 3. It may be that you save the 1 for later in the year that you may want to then take them up on. Okay, but at least it's registered and it's sat there ready waiting for you. If you don't need it, it doesn't matter. You haven't signed any actual agreement at this stage. You have literally just got them approved. Okay.
And then there's a question from Pelly Wallace as well. I don't know if you can see that one, Michelle.
Is the rollout of the scheme still 20th of November? Now we are going into lockdown. So the rollout of the scheme, the scheme's actually started on the 2nd of September, Penny. It will continue and to be open up until December 2021. So this is an ongoing scheme. There is no date of the 20th of November. We can continue to get vacancies approved. Where we have talked about lockdown, we just don't know what will happen, if they will change stance on it and when the placements can start due to COVID. What we know before this latest announcement was, if the placements can still happen from learners' homes, you can still give them all the training and the support that they would need to continue their work experience from a home environment, and we can prove that can happen, then it was still okay. Obviously, with the recent announcement, we're just waiting for a bit more further guidance, but there is nothing stopping us to getting these vacancies, getting them approved and getting them everything ready. Anybody who has already registered for this webinar today can go back in at a later time and get the presentation, I do believe, Martin.
Yes, they can visit the same link, and we can also email it round to them as well. It's not a problem.
Okay. So you can visit the same link, or it can be emailed round to you, is the answer, if nobody could hear Martin then. Is something covering your mic? Bless. Martin's mic does seem to be working for me, so I don't know if it's because Martin's the one sharing the presentation, that there may be some issues there, but...
I will pick up with the technical team.
Yeah.
This is the 3rd microphone I've tried with this software, and it's no better. There was a question earlier from somebody. They've obviously requested 3 placements, but only want to fulfil 2. Is there any issues with that?
I've just covered that one, Martin.
Oh, right, okay, there we go.
I've just covered that one. Is it possible to hire further employees during the scheme? I can see here from Azad, absolutely. You can keep putting in applications for vacancies, but when we go back to why places are being rejected, just look at the number of vacancies you are looking for is what I would say, because they are saying they're looking at the structure of your organisation to see if you can cope and how you would manage to give that level of support to people. So I'm guessing if somebody was to come to me and say they've got 3 employers and they want 100 vacancies, how on earth would they be able to support 100 people through if they've only got so you can keep reapplying. However, as I said, just be conscious that they're looking at the structure of the organisation to cope. I've just seen one coming from Katie Mosh. Who are your training courses accredited by? We have multiple awarding bodies we work with at Pathway Group. As I said, we are a training provider, but a lot. I think we've got a lot of Sitting Gills, Pearsons, Highfields. I could name quite a few. Okay. How about if we have already identified a candidate that we would like to employ on Kickstart? I said you may have already identified a candidate. However, until that vacancy comes back approved, nothing can happen. As soon as the approval comes back, you would then have to tell that young person to go to their work coach so they can be referred via the DWP. They will keep a trail on who they are referring, and if that young person hasn't gone through that process, then they won't give you the funding. So, which is why I'm saying, please don't start any employment. Don't think we can backdate anything, because DWP will have their own checks, and if you have not gone through that process, then you will not get the funding. Okay, they're coming through thick and fast at the moment. So how about if we've already, okay. How does the training provided need to be accredited? Who does the training provided? Who does the training provided need to be accredited to meet? So the training doesn't have to be accredited to meet the DWP criteria. What they are saying is they're going to ask you on the kind of the application stage, if you are not going through a training provider like ourselves, how are you going to ensure that that person has had good initial advice and guidance and skills on how they are going to have a better chance of getting employment afterwards, if that makes sense. So what level of support can you give to them? How are you going to cover it? And that's what you need to consider, because I said, in an ideal world, after 6 months, you may really be in a position to take them on, give them a job full-time, etc. But we know that might not happen. So what will happen to those young people afterwards? We don't want them to just have 6 months work experience placements and then fall back into unemployment. We want them to be able to go forward. When should we receive confirmation on our application? Okay, so initially they did state it was 4 to 8 weeks for approval. We have got some very near the 8 weeks at the moment that we're still waiting on. However, DWP are now saying that they should be able to process them from 4 weeks onwards. We still think that may be around the 6 weeks, but again, we are still waiting. We have got all the links, obviously the dates when everybody has applied, so we can see how long the process is taking. Obviously, those that are going to be coming in very, very soon. What I will say is they are rejecting vacancies a lot quicker than they are approving. So they may do as you said, a kind of credit check, due diligence check on planned vacancies or previously planned vacancies, and they are rejecting those pretty quick. I know there was one rejected within 2 weeks from an employer that I spoke to last week. So the rejections are going through pretty quick. They have come back to us on a few applications asking for a bit more detail. So we haven't had any rejections. We are still waiting for those approvals. When will we know the application's been approved? Obviously, you will be notified. We haven't had the approval, won't come through yet, so I can't exactly say, but we will be issued with the grant agreements. Once they've been approved, you will also be notified. Roughly, how long is the approval process? They are now saying 4 weeks. I would say 4 to 6 to cover. It was 4 to 8. So the position gets advertised by the job centre and then they apply from there. Yes, the job centres will advertise. The employers, you employers, Pathway Group can all advertise for the positions. You can let everybody know that you have got vacancies for the Kickstart scheme. However, you can't do that until it's been approved. So again, we would encourage you to advertise, and Pathway Group will very, very much be advertising the vacancies on all of our social media platforms. But they do have to come, they have to be referred by the work coach, and obviously the job centres will also be advertising and encouraging people as well. I hope that's answered that. If you are in the tech space and you provide training and skills with technology itself, would that be sufficient training? Again, I think what, James, on that one, it may be worth us just speaking separately, just to see what level of support you could put into there and what skills or what courses. It's not just all about the courses. The courses is an added bonus. So obviously, if you can give them Microsoft skills training, that would be fantastic. It's around the employability training that it's more that what they're looking for you to prove that you're going to be able to do. Will you be able to offer support in other regions? Absolutely, Carl. We are a nationwide training provider. The scheme is open for England, Scotland, Wales. So again, we have got multiple applications, multiple regions. We are a training provider at the moment that can cope with blended learning approach. So no, that's not a problem at all. If an employee joins and leaves the business within the 4-month period of receiving the funds for the employee, is that loss taken by the business or Kickstart scheme cover? Okay, so what we do know from the DWP is that they have said they will look at it on an individual case-by-case basis. If it is through no fault of your own that person has now left the business, then they will not be claiming back any monies. If there is a problem, obviously you have taken them on and you can't provide them with a work experience placement, then they may be looking to claw some of that money back. But again, they will look at it as an individual case-by-case basis. Okay. James, you can do either, call or mail me. It is fine. Obviously, just give me a chance to finish. Terry, are the DBS checks for the applicant, or will everyone in our company need to have one done as the applicant might be under 18? No, Terry, that was purely in case you wanted the individuals to have DBS checks. Obviously, some environments, care settings, etc., will definitely want all applicants to have a DBS check. It is part of what we're saying is we will cover DBS checks as part of our recruitment support package, if that is the option you choose for Pathway to do for the recruitment. It doesn't mean you have to do it. And our DBS checks paid for by Kickstart, DWP, or the potential employer, it would come out of that £1,500 is the answer, Terry. So whether that's coming through Pathway doing that, another gateway provider doing it for you, or if that's you do the recruitment bit yourself, but that would cover your setup costs. I don't think there is any other questions at this stage. Let me just scroll back up, seeing as Martin's mic.
If you click on just along the bottom of the screen, ask a question. There are a couple of questions in there that I hadn't seen come through on the chat itself.
Okay.
I've just responded to the how often you can hire someone.
Okay.
Which they can obviously hire as often as the business requires, as long as they have the necessary approval.
Okay. One on here then is, assuming that we opt for some level of support, would the employer need to make a payment upfront or have this reimbursed from the £1,500 grant that Pathway would claim? And that is exactly that, Lawrence. So basically the £1,500 plus the wages all comes through to the gateway provider anyway, and then we reimburse you that money. So that's where the grant agreements will come in place. If obviously you've opted for a recruitment or whatever, then that would come out of what we then paid you. If that answers that one, I should think so. If an employee joins and leaves the business within 4, okay, so I think we've just touched on that one anyway, individual case-by-case basis. I can't see any more on there, Martin. Oh, yeah, there was one. How often could you hire somebody? I think for those who couldn't hear Martin, he did just explain that you can hire as often as your business requires, as long as you have the necessary approval for the placements. So, as I said, you can apply for up to 30 vacancies in one application. Anything more than that, you then must do once your first lot of vacancies have been approved. But for those who have got less than those, then obviously you can continue right the way through to December 2021. Let's have one last look. So why would an employer be accepted via pathway but not if they apply directly to DWP? Okay, so for that latest sale, for that answer to that one is, we had an employer, for instance, who may not have put enough detail in how they're going to support the employer through the employability training element of it. It may be that they said they want 100 people and they've only got 3 people working in the organisation, so they wouldn't be able to cover the support. So where Pathway Group are now assisting them to reapply would be to look up the application that they initially processed, see where we would feel the problems would lie, whether it is, can they really afford to take on 100 if they've only got that? Would it be a smaller amount? Would it be that they are now going to come with Pathway Group as a gateway provider to cover their employability training? So therefore, we could put all of our stance onto that for them. So it's not that they would be accepted by us and rather than the DWP. It just means that we're going to support them, so the DWP will accept their application. Can you consider, for example, 3 candidates for the same role? Absolutely. If you've got work there and they are the same job titles, we have put things through. So it may be you've got 5 sales assistant roles, etc. So yeah, absolutely. If it's the same role, we just need to know how many and what the job title is. So yeah, absolutely fine. I'm just flicking through.
There is one just at the bottom of the chat window as well, Michelle. That's just come in.
Okay, I'm just scrolling. I went back up. Can you take on someone who has worked for you in the past if you have a candidate in mind? If that young person is on universal credits, then answer is absolutely yes. They would have to go back through the process of talking to their work coach and being referred for it. But yes, if they are in receipt of universal credit, they are eligible. And do we need to give a certain number of hours? So 25 hours per week is what they will pay for, Terry. Anything above that, obviously, you must pay for yourself. Again, it is a work experience placement. With the current situation as well is something to consider, but they will pay for 25 hours per week. All right. Does anybody else have any questions to come through? I don't think we have any more coming through at this stage. I will thank you all very much for your time. I hope it's been useful to you. As I said, we just now need to gather where we're moving forward, which companies we're going to recruit for, and which ones we then have to look at the employability packages for. So we will be in touch with you all. We're just going to try and gather this information from this Gateway Services form today. And obviously we will be back in touch. And if we get any approvals come through over the next couple of days, we will definitely be in touch.
You've jinxed yourself, Michelle. You've had another 3 questions.
Okay. Okay. Do we need to hire people who are on universal credit, or can we? Yeah, so all applicants have to be on universal credits. That is the only way they are going to be eligible for this, for your funding. So if they're not on universal credits and they haven't been referred by the work coach, then you won't get the funding from the DWP. Katie, if I pay the living wage, then I assume I just pay the difference. Absolutely correct. Yeah, totally. And Katie, if you are paying the living wage, then it might just attract somebody more to your vacancy than it will do to another. I think on previous presentations, we have said, how will your vacancy stand out? There's going to be thousands of vacancies coming across now for these people to be referred to. So what makes yours stand out? So if that is something you are considering, then it may just give you that somebody will apply for yours over somebody else's. But yeah. Okay. When roles are advertised on DWP, can we insist on applicants being based in a given city? On that one, Michelle, I believe the job centres would probably only be referring people who can get to the organisation pretty easy. If they don't have, obviously, cars, etc., I don't know. Even if they work from home, we prefer location to be in the same city as our offices. Again, that is when you look onto the recruitment and selection, Michelle, depending on if you're going to do your own recruitment and selection, that's something we can discuss. I don't know if we can put it on the actual advert itself. However, I think the DWP would only refer people within the vicinity of where the vacancy is, unless you stated otherwise. Are we able to actually specify that someone needs to be on universal credit when advertising the roles? Absolutely, yes, because it is a requirement of the scheme. Anybody who searches Kickstart will see that it is a requirement. The only people eligible for it are universal credit claimants. Okay. As I said, as soon as the vacancies are approved, then we would encourage everybody to advertise them out there and get the word out. And Pathway Group will do that as well. Any more?
The Ask a Question has gone up to 5 now, Michelle. Let me just have a quick look.
Okay.
So it's just Billy asking, can he download this session somewhere? Yes, you will be able to access this, and it will also be on YouTube a little bit later on.
Billy, if you couldn't hear Martin then, he said, yes, you will be able to access it via clicking on the same link you've already clicked on to get onto this webinar today, or we will get it all out on YouTube later on this afternoon. So we keep all of our webinars on Pathway's YouTube channel, so everybody can go back in. But again, you've got my email address. It is on the screen as we speak. So if you require it just sent to you separately on an email, then please just drop me an email. We'll get it all sent across to you. Do I need to fill in Pathway Group Gateway if we were to do the recruitment ourselves? So let me just have a look what option it was. So if you wanted Pathway Group to do the employability, but you wanted to do the recruitment, then it is option 2. So we are always going to be the gateway. So where it's got just gateway, that means that you're going to take over everything yourself, the recruitment and the employability. Okay. But again, if anybody's a bit stuck on which one they need to fill out on that, again, please do just drop us a message and we will speak with you directly. I have submitted my application today with Pathway. When would somebody be able to get in touch? Again, Mohammed, what happens when you've submitted your application form? We go through a desktop due diligence. So we will see if we need any further details from you at this stage. If we have got everything, then we will then apply for the vacancies to be approved straight away within 1 day turnaround. If we need any details, we'll be coming back to you. Will this, on reflection, be caught by Equality Act 2010, or will something similar be open for over 25s? Greg, it has come up on quite a few webinars I've attended. Unfortunately, we haven't made the rules, so I don't know. Is the answer to the Equality Act 2010. It is an initiative. There are other initiatives out there for older people. There's initiatives out there for apprenticeships. But yes, I don't know. Again, it's government initiative. They've specified the rules. We've just got to go along. Okay, James, can you recap on the options again, possibly? So if we could go back to the options slide there, Martin. It is coming very soon. There we go. So if you can see that, so option 1, Pathway Group would do your recruitment and selection and the employability training. Option 4, you would do all the recruitment and selection and the employability training. Option 2 is you do the recruitment and selection and Pathway Group do your employability training. Option 3, Pathway Group do your recruitment and you cover the employability training. You just leave that up there for you for a couple of minutes, but you're very welcome, James. hopefully we've covered quite. During the 6 months placement, do interns visit job coaches at the job centre? Again, on that, Michelle, I'm not too sure. Obviously, I'm guessing they will leave them alone to conduct their 25 hours work experience placements. Obviously, they will have an indication of when that placement is due to finish, and obviously if they've been taken on since. But I don't think they'll be expected to attend the job centre throughout that placement because they will be working 25 hours per week. Ricky, I've put my application in with DWP, but will do recruitment and training myself. And do I need to say I'm doing option 4 in order to get approved? So, Ricky, sorry, do you mean you've put the application? You've applied directly via the pathway, government portal for the 30 applications, or you mean you've put the application form in with us? Sorry. So, Ricky, sorry, if you're what you're saying, you've put the application form in with Pathway Group, but you want to do it all yourself, then you are choosing option 4, correct? At what stage of application do we get to choose these options with yourself? If you have already put your gone onto Pathway Group /Kickstart and put your details in, then you can do it right from now. When do we need to choose these support packages? As soon as possible is the answer, Anat. What we want to do is we want to obviously start building ready for when these approvals come through. So the sooner we've got your requirements, we know what to start the ball rolling. Will you need blanket job specs, contracts of employment, job specifications, etc. I have applied directly, not through Pathway. So if that's the case, then Ricky, obviously you will be doing all of it yourself. So you therefore don't need to choose any options. So this is more so for the employers that have come through ourselves as the gateway and we have applied on their behalf. So if you've done it yourself, then you will have the responsibility for all of it anyway. Any more? So I'll give it another 2 minutes if anybody's got any more questions. You're very welcome. Are you expecting approvals, feedback for October applications soon? Absolutely, Michelle. We are literally, the delay is not with us, as I said, it is with the DWP or the Kickstart approval board, shall we say. As soon as we hear anything, we will be straight in touch. We have got employers that literally applied probably, and it's coming up to the 8 weeks very, very soon. So, and we haven't had any rejection, so it can only be they're still being processed. And you're very welcome. Any more? Okay, I think we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. Oh, hang on, one more. If you wanted to place anyone else in similar roles to the Kickstart key placement while waiting for this to move forward, would this cause any issues with us in the Kickstart scheme in any way? If they are volunteering with you, James, then I can't see that being a problem. However, if you have taken them on and you are paying them, then they won't be classed as a Kickstart placement. It would be you've gone around another route for recruitment. So yeah, be very careful on that. If they are volunteering with you and they're happy to continue volunteering until the approval comes through, then obviously they can still go back to their work coach and say, obviously, I have been volunteering with this employer. I'd like to be put forward and referred for their Kickstart vacancy, and that would be it. Can we choose to recruit ourselves, and if no success, then decide to choose your recruitment services? Absolutely, Anat. I suppose, again, if you're willing to give it a go yourself and you're not, Pathway Group, as I said, we have got, what's the word I'm looking for, Mark? A big presence on social media platforms, obviously with all the job centres, because we work a lot already with the unemployed. We've already probably got people sat that have done courses with us who are looking for these opportunities as well. So yeah, that's
Just
fine.
to jump in as well, Michelle, you may need to repeat this. Obviously, we're ranking quite highly in the likes of Google at the moment, so we are having inquiries coming through from applicants that are looking for placements. So
Okay.
that's we are putting together a bit of a talent pool at this moment in time as well.
Did anybody hear that, or did you want me to repeat what Martin's just said?
I'll just repeat it if I were you.
Okay. So Martin did just say, if nobody's heard, that we are ranking very high on Google. So we are getting a lot of individuals that are interested in applying for the schemes also already coming through. So that was just backing up, I think, Anna, what we were saying about, obviously, if you come back to us, talent pool. Yeah, they did hear you. Fantastic. Okay. So I think there's another couple come through. Terry, just want to make sure I've grasped this. If we choose option 1, the recruitment selection and the training would go to Pathway Group. But if yes, absolutely, then that's totally right, Terry. You've got it spot on. James, thank you. If we choose to take on all of the recruitment selection ourselves, do we have to provide a breakdown of how the thousand? No, you don't. We're kind of encouraging you as the employers to do that, because it's going to be a lot of liaising backward and forward with the job centres on referrals, getting the right people, arranging the interview times, have they turned up, have they not, etc. So yeah, you won't have to prove what you've spent that £1,000 on. As I said, it could be on setup costs. It might be you need a laptop for them. It might be they need DBS checks. They may need overalls, etc. So no, you haven't got to prove. Poor Martin. I'm feeling sorry for you, Martin. You can't be heard. I'm sure he does it on purpose, really. So I have to do the whole presentation. If we get someone started on the scheme and we then go into another lockdown in, say, January, does the 6-month pause or continue? Again, we are still waiting for some further guidance on this. Obviously, the announcements were Saturday. They haven't published any further guidance at this stage. But as soon as we know, we will be sending out the relevant information and updates to you. Okay. Right, I'm going to give it one last. Any other questions? Right, on that note then, we will say thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Martin, even though they couldn't hear you. Martin, to kindly put the presentation together for us. So you can have that glory, Martin, at least.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much all. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your afternoon. And we will be in touch shortly. Thank you.